is Richard Fallon. He's been a member of Toastmasters for about 10 years now, and his most amazing journey was 4 weeks of cycling around Andalusia. He's working on Pathways Level 3, and his project is using slides. So with a speech entitled Uphill, Down Dale, Richard Fallon.
Forgive me, Richard, the speech is entitled The Meaning of Life.
With a speech entitled The Meaning of Life, Richard Fallon.
The meaning of life. What's it all about, eh? From the iconic 1983 Monty Python film to the very real existential struggles and challenges each of us face every day. This is a poignant question. I'm guessing that each of us in some way, shape or form looks for meaning in our life, perhaps almost on a daily basis. Fellow seekers of meaning, I would like to speak to you today about a man who, more than most for me, gets close to answering this question. And also how in the recent pandemic, I personally lost my meaning and how I begin to find my way back. Viktor Frankl was born in 1905 in Vienna, Austria. He was a neurologist and a psychiatrist, and his big idea, his form of psychoanalysis, was called logotherapy. Logo from logos, the Greek, about the mind, and the central tenet of that was that you find meaning in life, you do things that give you meaning, and you are well. Very simple, really, and something perhaps we'd all take for granted. And if you don't have meaning, you're not well, spiritually, physically, emotionally. He was interred during his lifetime. Not interred, sorry. He was held prisoner during his lifetime, being Jewish, in the Second World War, in 3 concentration camps. Now that picture says it all, really. We can only begin to imagine the vile horror, the grotesque debasing of humanity that took place there. Yet, all throughout this, he continued to practice and observe. And he noticed many things. And one of the things, the key elements, his epiphany really, focused around cigarettes. Cigarettes in concentration camps were, like in modern prisons, very valuable currency. And in fact, in that almost undurable life, really, the opportunity of smoke, a little smoke, a few seconds smoke was something that people held dear and looked forward to, and in fact gave them meaning. He noticed one day a fellow prisoner with a new cigarette, smoked it immediately. And he thought, that man has lost hope. And sure enough, a few days later, he was dead. Meaning for me is about people. It's always been about people. I love to interact, engage in all the roles I've had in my life. It's people, people, people all the way. Whether I'm training as I am here, or indeed my work as a DJ and promoter in the Cuban music scene and dance teacher as well. However, when this pandemic reared its ugly head, like many others, I'm sure, my world came crashing down. Not only was I overnight denied an income in both my professions, but I had a chronic gout, which lasted pretty much the full time of the pandemic. I'm just getting over it now. As you can see from this illustration, gout, for those who don't know it, is the most painful form of arthritis. Uric acid that can't be dispelled forms into needle-like crystals that then settle in your joints, often the big toes. I've had it in both feet. And it is unbearable, impossible to walk. I've spent a good deal of the last 4 to 5 months in bed, actually. And with no work and being bedbound, I began to look inward, well, more of a spiral loop inward, and lost something of the will to live, if you know what I mean. I became depressed. I didn't want to go out. I couldn't go out. I didn't see people. I didn't really speak to people on the phone. And one day I picked up an old copy back from the 80s when I first met Viktor Frankl of his probably most famous book, Man's Search for Meaning. And in it, I found a quote which began to light the embers of my aspiration and hope. When we are no longer able to change a situation, we are challenged to change ourselves. It wasn't boom, oh yes, because I was depressed, but it was a slow, gentle prompting. And then perhaps the same day, I don't know, but let's say it's the same for the sake of the story, I looked out of my window at the garden and I noticed many beautiful things. The flowers coming into bloom, the insects buzzing around, the visiting birds, the squirrel who hops along the fence, and the fox who comes in, sniffs around and leaves. And I hobbled into the garden and I started working. I got my hands in the earth. I pruned back things. I planted other things. It was painful because my toes were painful. But gradually, I started again to find my meaning in these small tasks. And although the road is hard and difficult and I have to take it step by step, I've picked up a couple of clients and I'm once more thinking now about DJing online. So I'll let you know and you can tune in. And I want to say very clearly that the thing in all of this that has given me most meaning has been attending Early Birds online. It's my community. Seeing you all, listening to you, engaging with you, and hearing wonderful speeches, of course, but it's that essentially that has made the difference to me in what has been for me a very difficult time. So for that, from the bottom of my heart, I thank you. Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Richard. And now please, Jess, if we could have 1 minute on the clock for giving feedback in the chat to Richard. Thank you.